there's no fear with Team USA anymore because the majority of the superstars that are playing with the NBA and they're who are from other countries, they're playing for their home countries, and you see with their rosters from other countries like France and Serbia and some of these other powerhouse uh, basketball teams from overseas, they have balance up and down their roster. Going back to the U.S., you have a lack of shooters outside of Zach LaVine and Damian Lillard. Now, outside of Bam Adebayo, as we talked about earlier with the mobile big man, uh, other teams like France, as we saw last Sunday, they have mobile big man and they get to know what to do with the pick and roll. We as Americans don't know what to do with the pick and roll on defensively, and you saw France go to it every time. And so this wasn't a shock for me to see Team USA lose. Of course, I wanted to see them win the game, but when you struggle to defend the pick and roll and you struggle shooting down the stretch, this is what happens. Yes, Kevin Durant got in foul trouble and eventually he fouled out. Damian Lillard, the defense was great from France in that second half. And Zach LaVine, he tried, but he couldn't do anything in that second half. Drew Holiday, who just got over there a couple of days ago, saved Team USA early in that fourth quarter. So if you're USA, you have a easy opponent, at least on paper tonight, against Iran. You can catch that on the Peacock app tonight at 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Peacock app. You can watch that game live. Lakeena, U.S. has, quote-unquote, two easy opponents on paper, Iran and then the Czech Republic on Saturday. They need to show their dominance in these next two games before the medal round next week.
Look, I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it because I feel like everybody's got their opinions and, everything. Everyone's now a basketball after, like I said, all of a sudden. Now, look, this whole thing, with, comparing this team to the 04 team, again, I'm not going to go through all the names, but a lot of those guys that were in 04, a lot of those guys are Hall of Famers or soon to be Hall of Famers. So to say, to say that, oh, well, this is against the 04 team, no. And D Wade and LeBron and Carmelo, they were all very young. They were all like, barely in their 20s or just in their 20s. And second, the coaching. The coaching has to play some responsibility here. Larry Brown did get the responsibility in 04, and Pop needs to get the responsibility, in this year. And also, too, the team wasn't constructed very well. Also, too, they're not being, they're poorly coached and everything. Like you said, Sid, with not having a true inside guy that could be not only a paint protector but can also do the pick and rolls. Not having an actual guard that can shoot. You could have had that with Trae Young. Even Trae Young was saying, "Hey, I'm available. Come on.
Yeah.
I want to play." They didn't pick him. So all the parameters there needs to be addressed. Yes, the world is caught up. Yeah, but again, the way the system is, it seems like the last couple of years, the U.S. has kind of, went away from what made them successful from I guess we could say maybe 06 to perhaps, 2018. So they went away from the form of how to make up the roster. Now, once Grant Hill takes over after the Olympics, I'm sure a lot of that stuff will change. They may have to bring in another coach like Eric Spoelstra. I've heard some people say maybe Tyronn Lue. I've heard you some folks.
Well, maybe Jay Wright. I believe he's an assistant now
yes,
on the staff.
Right out. Yeah, he could kind of be like what the Coach K. What Coach K did all those years on that for that team. So you're going to need somebody that's going to commit to the team, for the next maybe decade, because you only got 3 years between now and the next Olympics in Paris. So you're going to have to get it together. So. Look, it's not ideal, but I'm not going to say they're done, but they better get it together because you're going to, Black basketball Twitter is going to be on the warpath. So you better win these next two games against Iran and the Czech Republic and win them handily so that way maybe you can get some confidence going into the medal rounds.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. As I said before, you need to dominate Iran tonight. And then you take your chances with the Czech Republic on Saturday because it's going, as we said before, it's going to get tougher when you go into the medal round, the knockout rounds, which start next week. So we'll see what happens tonight in tonight's game against Iran. You need to show up and assert your dominance and play all aspects of the game. If you don't, you're really going to be in trouble. Like you said, 04 is going to seem like little league stuff if you somehow lose to Iran tonight. And so we trust that Team USA will get it together at least for this game and perhaps for Saturday's game. There should be 2-1 going to the medal rounds next week. So we expect a lot out of USA basketball. It all starts tonight. 20-second timeout. You're listening to an all new fun-filled edition of Second City Sports along with Lakeena McGee. I am Sydney Brown. We'll have more sports and more fun. Well, we still have the Olympics to talk about. Training camp are starting this week. Teams are reporting right now as we speak. There's news going on about that. And plus, we'll have a surprise to along the way. We'll see you and hear you on the flip side.
And welcome back to the second half of Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
Along with Sydney Brown, I'm Lakeena McGee. You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
And you can follow this podcast, Second City Sports, at War Media. That's WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow, you can watch our episodes, the video episodes, on the YouTube channel at War Media. Also, too, we get the audio version. You can get it at Anchor, Google Play, whatever you get. Google, I should say. There's no Google Play anymore. My bad. Spotify, iTunes, and wherever you get your podcasts. So it's all right there. Just check us out and feel free and give us, and also too on the iTunes. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating so that way we can make some money off of this. We don't usually do that, but that's sort of like the thing. That's how they do it here. So give us hook your friends up here with like a 5-star rating. Just saying. All right, like I said, so I wish we had the Olympic theme in the background, but again, I just want to finish up the basketball, and also too, you got to think that maybe the scheduling didn't help either. Maybe they could have started the season maybe a little earlier, maybe, and then maybe or maybe like shave a month off of the season, whereas maybe they wouldn't have to, Middleton and Booker and Holiday wouldn't have to flown in, and they would have had jet lag, and plus you had issues with Zach LaVine and whether or not he would be able to travel. So I think that also played a part in the U.S. losing. Not making excuses, but let's also consider that as well. Just saying.
Yep. Also, too, the other, I know I'm stepping on your toes, Lakeena, but we also have other events going on with the Olympics as well. As yours truly, I'm into the track and field. I know I asked you a few weeks ago about who should we watch out for. I know Sha'Carri Richardson, with her issue, she won't be able to participate in this year's Olympics. I can't wait to watch Simone Biles. Hopefully, I didn't miss it already. But gymnastics, I always look forward to. But what's some of the other events that are starting to take place in Tokyo?
Well, the swimming is in full swing. You had Team USA winning their 10th gold in the men's 4x100 meter freestyle relay, led by Caleb Dressel, someone who could probably very likely win 5 gold medals in these games before the week is over with. He led the team, to their win. It's, like I said, it's their 10th gold in the men's 100 meter freestyle relay. That's always a lot of fun to watch. Let's see here. Also, Kayla Ledecky, and I know people were kind of freaking out that she won silver, but the young lady from Australia, Ariana Titmus, who's coached, by the way, did some things. I'm sure you probably saw the gifs going around. Sid, he had his mask off. He was doing some, stuff that you probably would only see after dark. But again, we won't.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure his. I'm sure they've. The Australian Olympic team has kind of gone on him about that. But yeah, Ariana Titmus, she actually beat Ledecky in the World Championships 2 years ago in the women's 800. So it's really not a surprise that she beat Ledecky. She actually beat Ledecky maybe like a half a second, because the 2 years ago when she won, she actually beat her by 5 seconds. So Ledecky actually did even better. But let's remember though, folks, she actually, she broke the 1,500 meter record, the Olympic record in the 1,500 meters, which is really her event. Plus, she also has other events in the relays coming up, so she's gonna be okay, I think. So I think for people who are
she was America's darling in the last Olympics, so I still expect her to do well. You can't win them all.
Yeah, exactly, and the swimming teams have done very well. They've won a couple other golds and also some silver and bronze. That's one of the reasons why the U.S. is leading the medal count right now. They won a gold in women's fencing, which is pretty cool. And Vincent Hancock won his 3rd gold medal in skeet shooting. And also Amber English won her gold medal in that same event on the women's side. So it's actually the first time that the U.S. has won gold medals in both men's and women's in the same Olympics. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, so the U.S. has been doing pretty well so far in the medal count as of right now.
Yes, as of right now, they're in second place with 14 total medals. China's in first with 18. Japan is in third place with 13 total medals. So things are off to a hot start. I also want to see where we do in volleyball. Now, I did check out the 3-on-3. I know this is something new
Basketball,
this
yeah.
year as far as basketball. I know Stephanie Dolson from the Chicago Sky is participating in that event.
Yeah, they're actually in the medal rounds, I believe. I think they're 6-0 going into the medal round. So unfortunately the men didn't qualify despite winning the world championships. I don't know how that happened, but again, that's another that's another story for another episode. But yeah, unfortunately. But the women's soccer team, after losing to Sweden, they came back and beat New Zealand. So like the men's basketball team, I'm not worried about them. Like it's a little different with them because you got, Megan Rapinoe, Carly Lloyd, they're well in their 30s. I know Alex Morgan's only 31, but she's been on the team since she was a teenager. They've got a new coach, so a lot of parameters, different, but I'm not worried about them. I think they'll be okay. The women's basketball team has also had their issues. They're going to be okay too. I'm not worried about them.
I know they're supposed to start today.
They are. So I'm not too worried about them either, but again, the track and field doesn't start till this weekend, so you got wait a few more days. But yeah, so I know. But look, enjoy the kayaking, the canoeing, and the volleyball, both indoor and outdoor. The U.S. should do pretty well. Also, water polo, the women are the defending. I think they're the defending gold medal champs and the world champs. And also the men too. They might do pretty well too this go around as well. So yeah, so a good start for the U.S. I mean, look, they've got some medals, coming on tonight. The gymnastics. We'll see. I'm sure the Simone Biles and the other ladies are going to do very well. Look, remember, Biles is the only returning gymnast. All the other girls are new to the team. So I think they want to get those kinks out the way. So I think they'll be okay. It'll be over by the time, we come back, but we'll talk about that. But I think they'll be okay once, they got the kinks and stuff. And plus the scores from the qualifying rounds, they don't count anymore. They just, you start over. So this is sort of a good way for the U.S. to kind of get back into it. The men, they fared pretty well. They finished fifth, which is actually pretty good because I think they came like in 7th or 8th in the last Olympics. So, and we actually got some chance to win the medals with some medals in the event. So I'm not too worried about the men either. So I'm sure the men will probably take a couple of medals.
It sounds like that we're starting to see the change in the guard or perhaps the last run regarding the U.S. women's soccer team, like as you mentioned, because of their ages. So it looks like it's going to be the Olympics in some events for our athletes, U.S. athletes. Is the change of the guard or is just the last run for these veteran athletes? So it should be interesting. I'm really looking forward to Simone Biles, especially after watching her in the last Olympics. She almost went undefeated and winning gold medal, except for one event. Let's see if she could do that again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she'll get it together. Look, she's a veteran. I know not having the crowd to feed off of. I think that's that. Look, it might actually benefit some athletes. It might be a little weird for some athletes. So who knows? And I know not having the families there. I actually like what NBC is doing with some of the athletes and bringing some of the parents and everything, since they can't travel. They couldn't travel to the Olympics this year. So it's cool. It was a pretty cool sight. So to kind of get the reactions in real time, I think should be interesting. We'll see what happens, this week. Look. Yeah. Are there any like niche sports that you like watching?
The water polo. I'll admit that and maybe the what's that? It's not. I know field hockey's in it this year. I did catch a couple of minutes of that. What's that? What is that sport where you? It's not a broom. I know before people yell at me. Oh, what is that called?
Curling?
Curling, yeah, curling. Thank you. I can't think of it basketball. That's what happens when you turn 30, folks.
Yeah. I would say, that's next year's Olympics, so it's always fun. And actually, the men will be the defending champions in curling, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I found that to be interesting. Let's come up with a sport. Let's see if we can make it an Olympic sport.
Well, look. I mean, skateboard just became an Olympic sport. let's see. The softball team's been doing pretty well for the women. They're 6-0. I think they're going into the middle rounds as well. So yeah, I like the canoe kayaking because just all that strength. You gotta, especially with the kayaking, you're kind of going whitewater rafting. That's pretty cool. Also the equestrian too. The horse jumping and the
Hmm.
dressage. That's actually pretty cool. That's another sport you don't usually watch to like every 4 years, or in
Hmm.
this case 5 years. So yeah, so it's a pretty, look, you got some pretty cool Olympic sports to check out. And also you can check it out on all the NBC networks, on the Peacock app. So just check it. I know the Rays have not been very good, but there are multiple
Hmm.
factors as to why. We'll talk about it as the days go on. But
Hmm.
I think so far, I think if you're NBC, you gotta be feeling pretty good.
Couple other things about the Olympics before we go jump into football. One, can we create an Olympic sport, Lakeena, and to get it on for the once in 3 years in Paris? Can we combine like strike them out and dodgeball? Can we do something in that realm? Let's create a sport and then get it approved by the committee. Because that's what looks like that's what's going on right now. Let's see, rollerblading and dodgeball.
that'd be well. Why don't we just
Now that
combine the
would be
two?
fun. That would be
Yeah,
fun.
that would be interesting too. Like you go on skateboards, you hit somebody over the,
Right,
with
go
a
on roller skating and dodging. I
yeah.
can see something like that.
That actually could work. Actually, they had somebody actually, ESPN asked a question: what is an Olympic sport that should be an Olympic sport that's not? And then someone said dating, which is I think she might have been right about that. I said cleaning, which look, I said cleaning, which I think any Olympic sport, then cleaning, whatever, whether you're mopping, sweeping, or just general cleaning or doing yard work. Somebody said yard work is and also too, one of our good friends, Matt Verderam, said that picking up groceries in one trip, that should be an Olympic sport because look, nobody wants to do two trips. I get it, especially when you have to walk. I know they got apps now, but there's nothing like feeling the
Hmm.
stuff before the merchandise before you buy it. So that's why people are very old school. I'm very like that too. So yeah, getting all the groceries in one trip, I get it.
Yeah, I still say rollerblading combined with dodgeball. See if we can
Roller,
do something with that.
like Dodge Roller or Roller Ball or something. I think there was a movie.
Yeah,
I think there was a movie called Roller Ball. I think somewhere somebody might have had a movie about
I think
that.
you're right.
All right, all
Oh,
right.
one other quick question before we move on.
Uh huh.
What did you think about the new Olympic basketball television crew from NBC? Chris Marlowe, who's the TV voice of the Denver Nuggets, and Vince Carter, who does work for the Hogs and ESPN. What did you think about that crew?
I think they sounded good. Look, I think there's going to be some new faces. They couldn't do Marv Alvin anymore. He's retired. Chris
I know
Marlowe's
Bob
been,
Fitzgerald, the TV voice for the
yeah,
Warriors. He did the last 2, 3 Olympics.
yeah, he did.
So,
And look, I think Chris Marlowe's been doing this for like ever. He's
hmm
has been calling
I know
all.
he does volleyball too. I don't know
He
if he's still
did.
going to do volleyball, but
He is. I think he's done. Yeah, I think he's still doing. I think I heard him doing the beach volleyball coverage because I think
okay.
the basketball and the beach volleyball venues are like not too far from each other. That's probably
Hmm.
why he's able to do it. But yeah, I think they sounded good. I think that Vince Carter sounded good. I think ESPN, I think, will probably be wise to put him in one of the telecasts for their NBA coverage or maybe their college basketball coverage next
Hmm.
season. Maybe just a thought, but I thought it sounded fine. I mean, I wish hopefully they'll call a better U.S. result tonight. but but yeah, I think they sounded good. I mean, look, I think all the TV, look at Dan Hicks and Roddy. Look, Michael Phelps actually sounded pretty good during the swimming events with Dan
Hmm.
Hicks and Roddy Gaines. So I think he sounded really good. Yeah, I think they sounded fine. What about you?
Yeah, I was impressed by Vince Carter. I know he did some work with Turner a couple of years ago during the playoffs. He did some studio work. Of course, he played the game. And I said, he's a very intelligent young man, knows how to express himself in a very professional way. He's doing a great job with ESPN. I know he's doing the Olympics and calling action on the floor. And if he can get some experience under his belt, I think he'll be fine there as well. I know he's just analyzing the game. He's a studio analyst for Sports Center and for the Hawks on their local TV coverage. But hopefully he can improve, and I think he will improve as these games go on as far as being a game analyst is concerned, doing live action stuff.
Yeah, like I said, I think as he gets better and better, I think that this will get ESPN to maybe put him on one of your TV crews. I mean,
Hmm.
he's a good studio, but I think he wants to do game analyst, so analyzing work. So we'll see. Should be. Look, you don't want to do with Vince Carter. What happened with Mark Sanchez? You let him go when he wanted to do game stuff. So
Yep.
You don't want to have that same situation in a couple of
Mhm.
years. Just if you're ESPN, just saying.
All right. Pause it, Lakeena, for a minute. Can you pause it?
Okay, too. We're gonna come back with this very short timeout.
You're listening to Second City Sports along with Lakeena McGee. I am Sydney Brown. Lakeena, let's go to the NFL. Training camps are opening up today. Practices don't start until Thursday for the majority of these teams. Our Chicago Bears are reporting to Hallis Hall as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
Lakeena, besides the storyline of rookie quarterback Justin Fields out of Ohio State, how well we assume that he's going to do in training camp, what's your other storyline that fans should pay attention to as we start training camp?
I think the Allen Robinson thing should be getting a little more attention than it has. Excuse me. I think, of course, the news came out over the weekend that they're not going to agree on a long term extension, at least not this year. I think that's going to be a thing that's fans are going to have to look out for this season. Also, too, Allen Robinson. How is I think for Allen Robinson, I think that's sort of like the thing, like, how is he going to play, especially with Andy Dalton and with Justin Fields? I mean, like you said, leaving Justin Fields out of it. I think, look, there's nothing
Mhm,
really, like, we can't really, predict on when he'll start. So we got to assume that Andy Dalton is going to be the starting quarterback going into week one. How about the defense? I mean, Akeem Hicks, will he be traded, or somehow will he be released or whatever? How much does he have left in the tank after, all these years of injuries? The defense a little bit is a year older. You got Eddie Goldman
mhm.
coming back from opting out, due to COVID last year. That's another thing that's gonna be another thing that's gonna be a big question mark. So I don't know. I mean, it's definitely, yeah, look, like I said before, I'm not gonna say, look, there's some stuff in Green Bay that's going on. We actually got some news that we'll share with you in a little bit, but I'm wondering, what do you think, Sid? Because there's definitely some other question marks. I mean, who's gonna be kind of like that guy, especially now that Anthony Miller's been traded. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But what are you looking for? What's your big question mark, Sid?
It's the defense. You mentioned one of the players' names, Eddie Goldman. I know there was some about talks of rumors about him retiring. Obviously, that's not happening. I know there's been some film and some pictures via social media these last few weeks of him working out and getting himself back into shape. So I want to see how he fits back in this Bears system. Of course, he missed last year opted out due to COVID concerns. We saw what he did 2-3 years ago when the Bears made the playoffs. He was an integral part of that Bears defense. Him and Hakeem Hicks, everybody wants to talk about them as impact players as far as rushing the passer. Both of them did a great job
Mm-hmm.
stopping the run. And we saw last year the Bears struggled to stop the run, especially late in the season. So I want to see how that aspect of their defense gets back to hopefully its top form it was at this peak 2-3 years ago. So Eddie Goldman is my number one storyline heading to training camp this week.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely, how he's gonna look. I know he's in good
Hmm.
shape. We've heard some people that we know who cover the Bears that he said that he's in really good shape. But again, he's a year older, and also that defense is a year older. How does Khalil Mack look with some of the injuries he suffered?
Hmm.
Well, I said the same thing about Akeem Hicks. I mean, can this defense still be a top 10, top 12 defense? How's the
Hmm.
offense going to look? Yes, you got a different looking O line, but again, is Andy Dalton going to be your starting quarterback going into week one? I mean, how is Justin Fields going to look, in the preseason, especially? He only got 3 games to kind of,
Hmm.
analyze. So, and look, I know some people are going to say, the stuff going on in Green Bay, like I said earlier, but, again, you look, Bears fans need to catch what's going on with the Bears, because this team, I don't think this team is going to be a playoff team, despite some of the improvements that they made. I just don't think they are, at least right now. What do you think?
I don't know if they're a playoff team or not. Like I said, I picked them to go to the playoffs a year ago. Well, I pick them again. I have to find out once the season starts. But the other storylines I'm looking at is, of course, the offensive line. How's that going to impact the decision that head coach Matt Nagy will eventually have to make? When does he put rookie quarterback Justin Fields in, assuming that he shows down in the preseason? Will this offensive line be built for Andy Dalton or for Justin Fields? With all the pieces that were missing a year ago. I know you let a couple of guys go in the offseason due to salary cap concerns, but how is that offensive line going to look? And Number two, no pun intended, who's going to be that number two wide receiver to go along with Allen Robinson, especially as you traded Anthony Miller to the Texans? Is it Darnell Mooney's job to lose, or will somebody that we don't know about step in and step up and take that spot?
And that
That's going to be interesting as well, not to be people talking about that.
And is Mooney going to be that guy? I mean, can he be that number two guy after Robinson? I think that's another thing that's going to be, that's going to be kind of like the number one question here. And like I said, I mean, with Anthony Miller, just want to say something about that for a second. I mean, it's kind of a bummer because I was very high on him when he came out of Memphis. He had that great rookie season, but just couldn't get together in this offense of Nagy. So, we'll see how he does in Houston. Again, they have their own issues. We won't go there, but in the quarterback spot. But we'll see. I think, and look, I think that you're able to not have to give up too much, for to get of your Houston. So, again, you wish him a great career. And look, they actually signed tight end Jesse James. Like they need any more tight ends? Don't they have like about a dozen already in their roster? I mean, really was that even really necessary? I mean, come on. So I know, like I said, I'll save all my Bears like nuggets for like as the shows go on, as we get into like deep into the NFL preseason, our divisional previews and such. But and I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll say that.
And I think you should have every right to feel that way, because I think what head coach Matt Nagy is doing is correct as far as naming Andy Dalton the starter right now. That perhaps, I'm sure, it gives motivation to Justin Fields to go out and do his best. Nothing's given to you. We all know that you were chosen to be the franchise quarterback, but you had to go out and earn it from all the reports that we've been seeing and hearing for the last few weeks. That he likes that challenge. Hope he can carry that momentum on to the preseason and on to training camp as we start here later on this week. And so the mentality and knowing the playbook are the two main things that fans should pay attention to when it comes to the quarterback position. The sooner he gets the timing down with his teammates and gets camaraderie with those guys, the sooner the better. Also, obviously, the preseason games will tell the story of how far or how long he has to go before he takes over the reins as the Chicago Bears starting quarterback.
Again, we'll get into all of that. And look, this is sort of the time for, Matt Nagy. This is the guy that he wanted. So, look, there are no excuses now. You have your guy. Now start, you have to coach him up.
Yep. And that's what needs to happen. We'll see as the days and weeks go on and through this preseason. Lakeena, let's get to the rest of the NFL quickly. You mentioned about Aaron Rodgers and that, I don't know what you want to call it at this point, but I just wish that I'll say this, and I'll say this hopefully the last time. This will be Aaron Rodgers last year in a Green Bay uniform. Whatever happens after that happens.
Yeah.
What people are talking about right now, I don't care.
Yeah, Ian Rappaport came out with something. He indicated to people close to him, this is according to what he said Aaron Rodgers did. He plans on, playing for Green Bay this season, but that's it. That's the expectation. So, again, there's a little bit of optimism there. Like, I just think this whole thing was really, like, silly and asinine from the jump. There's some other asinine stuff that's going on. We'll get to that in a bit, but it just sounded absurd. They were betting. There were folks, sports betting sites that were actually betting that he would retire, which I thought was completely silly and absurd. Then I mean, there's no way he was gonna retire, especially like this. They may do. Now some of the reports, the last few days have said that he may do kind of like a last dance sort of thing with Green Bay, and I think they might do that. So. Look, we haven't talked about him much this summer, Sid, but with good reason, because I just think it was really silly. And if this is the case, which it looks like it is, he might, come to training camp this week for the Packers. So all this drama and all this hoopla was for nothing. Thanks a lot, guys.
With that, we'll move on. Of course, you mentioned Deshaun Watson. We know that with the lawsuits pending, it looks like there's been no movement on that just yet. So things are quieted down for now. Of course, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell will have to make a decision on him soon. Of course, the reason why Deshaun Watson's in training camp because $50K will be taken out of his bank account if he misses a day. So that's the real reason why he's at training camp. Lakeena, without getting into the off the field stuff, even though that's a big part of it, what do you expect to happen between now and September 12th? That's the first Sunday of the regular season, when Houston faces off against the rookie quarterback Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. What do you expect to happen?
Nothing, if anything. I mean, look, these civil suits can go on for years, and there hasn't been a resolution for these civil suits. So, I think if you're in the NFL, I think you want to kind of like be smart and just look. As long as he's, nothing really, he hasn't gotten into any other type of trouble. He hasn't been in any kind of trouble, so you really have no bounds to kind of keep him from playing. I know some people don't like hearing that, but that's kind of how that's sort of like the standards we have here. So I don't think really nothing's gonna happen. If it does, I mean, if he goes on like some type of list or something like that, but the first 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, okay, fine. But again, you're gonna have a lot of issues with the union, so that might not be very smart of them to do that. So I think he's gonna play unless something really, really like big happens.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play in the preseason. He probably wasn't going to play in the preseason anyway. But
Probably not.
yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he started week 1.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. But like you say, if you're in the NFL, you're on a tough waters right now. You can't convict it because all the evidence isn't out, or assume that it is, that nothing's going to go any further. And number 2, this is one of your top quarterbacks, top stars in the league. If you quote unquote convict them too early, and then everything comes out at the end that nothing really happens, it's all about, we know most civil suits, 99.9% of them are about money. And so if you convict them too soon, you left with egg on your face again. I know they don't want that. The NFL doesn't want to have to go through that again.
No, they don't. So also too, we want to give our, get well soon to Colts head coach Frank Wright, who tested positive for COVID. Despite getting vaccinated, he said he's asymptomatic. He hopes to join the team again within the next week or two. Sid, I think this is sort of one of those things where I think it's better that this stuff comes out like now, I guess, because I guess they've actually have put some players, a few players, I should say, have been put into the the COVID reserve list. So I guess it gives me the NFL, if anything can come out of this, is that it happens now instead of maybe a month from now, as you get like a couple of weeks into the season and you have a big outbreak. So hopefully, get well soon to Frank Wright, and hopefully he'll be able to rejoin the team soon.
Yeah, and my best well wishes to him as well. Again, we talked about this in our last episode with the NFL cracking down on players who are not vaccinated. As we said before, half the league is at the 85% threshold as far as players and coaches being vaccinated. That number should and will improve by the time the season starts. So I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue as it is right now. So it is, especially now when you're letting fans back into these stadiums. And we'll see what the test run is for these preseason games, because fans across the country haven't been able to attend these games in over a year. So I know why the NFL has cracked down on it, because they need to make up their revenue. Just the TV revenue itself won't do it. And so I saw why this happened, but I think things with the players and coaches will be okay.
Yeah,
by the time the season starts.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's not going to be this big hoopla. I know some people, will say, well, this player doesn't want to get and that player. And look, I think that they're going to figure it out, with their teams, because I think that they don't want to. You don't want to cause an outbreak that that cause your team to forfeit. You don't want that. So I think there's going to be, look, you're going to get tested regularly. You're probably going to be isolated from everybody else. And if you're if you're feeling you're not feeling very well, get your make sure, don't go to the facility, go to like your doctor or whatever, and just they'll let them go from there. I mean, Chandler Jones just came out over the weekend that he's not happy with his contract and wants a trade from Arizona. If you're Arizona, you're trying to make a splash in the NFC West, this is not something you want to hear. Although Jeremy Fowler, who brought this report out, did say that he wants to play with JJ Watt. He wants to stay in Arizona. He's just not very happy with his contract, and they say that they hope they can figure it out, because he's been really good for the organization, and and everything. So I'm sure they'll figure it out, but this is not something you want to hear if you're Arizona, especially when you're about to start training camp.
No, that's something you don't want to hear. If you're Chandler Jones, you're using all the power that you have to get what you want. As we always say all the time, players' contracts are only 25 to 30% guaranteed. They're not fully guaranteed. So if you Chandler Jones is no different than any other player. When you're not happy with your contract, you get as much as you can. Yeah, over his career, he's proven to be one of the best young pass rushers in the game. And so with him, he should be paid like it. So with the struggling defense that Arizona had last year, he was their standout player. I don't know, you have JJ right over there, but he's only going to be there for a year or two. He's going to be gone. So if Jalen Jones is traded, what else you have left on that defense? That means you're going to depend on now going to his third year quarterback Kyler Murray to outshoot folks in terms of scoring touchdowns, outscoring folks. The arena style football in the NFL, even though this is what we're watching right now, that's not going to work in the long run.
And also, too, he's also 31, so I think that if you're Arizona, that's one thing you actually have going, going for you. But, we'll see. I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll say, look, we'll give you a nice, they kind of, I don't want to say they're up against the cap, but they've actually dished out a lot of money, to get Watt, and they've re-signed Baker. So Bubba Baker, I should say, they're talented safety. So I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll give him a very nice instead of latent contract, so that way it won't count against the cap. So maybe give him a nice 3 or 4 year extension. Make it kind of like front load, and then like maybe you save a little bit of money. And the thing, I don't have NBA. I kind of just figured out at the top of my head. What can I say?
Yeah, you should be hired as a capologist.
Nah, I'm not that good at math. Not that good at calculus. Any other NFL news that caught your attention, Sid, as we go into these training camps?
As I said in our last episode, I can't wait for Hard Knocks that will premiere, I believe, next week. Which they'll follow the Dallas Cowboys. And I know they'll have exclusive footage from the Hall of Fame game, which none of the superstars are going to play. They'll just stand on the sidelines and be interviewed by whoever and kiss and wave to the crowd.
Yeah. It's like, wave to the crowds and stuff. So, yeah, so that's probably what they – don't expect, Dak or Zeke or any of those guys to play, like you said. So they may play, like, maybe a series if that. So I doubt they're going to be the old – they and Pittsburgh are going to be the only teams that are going to be doing. I think they're still going to do 3, even though they are playing very early, in the preseason. So we'll see how that works. Now, this quick news before we wrap up, Sid. Oklahoma and Texas have told Big 12 officials that they're not going to grant their media rights after their expiration date in 2025. They had a joint statement, and it's they're gonna give on the way to go to the SEC. That some people, they may have to pay a penalty if they want to join even earlier, like as soon as 18 months. They're gonna have to pay like $80 million penalty if they want to leave early.
And I think no one wants to give that money back. Remember Nebraska at this time last year were threatening to leave the Big Ten. The Big Ten said you had to give about $55 million or something around that range back, and Nebraska kept quiet and it went back to that big hole.
Yeah, so that's going to be very interesting. It's just absurd that any team would do this, that these teams would do this. There's really no motivation for this other than money. Like, I really don't, like, no other, if Texas having a hard time in the Big 12, just imagine when they get to the SEC, when they had to play Alabama and LSU and, those type of teams. Like, really? Oklahoma may have their struggles, but I think they'll get it together. They got a great coaching staff. They got a great facilities. But Texas, you're really going to struggle, especially in football. So I don't see other reason. Now, Jay Billis from ESPN, who I agree with him most of the time, like 99.9% of the time. This is one of those 0.1% that I don't agree with him. Now he's saying that the SEC and the ACC should merge. Like, really? Why? Like, are you kidding? No. And I know people want to say, well, I don't. I've heard some sports radio hosts say, well, I don't care about why should people don't care about. Yeah, I care about the Big 12. I do. I care about the Pac-12. I care. I care about the American Athletic Conference. I care. So please don't put all of us in a broad brush. There actually are some of us who actually care about the Big 12. And if you're Kansas, about your hoops, where do you go? Do you go to the Big 10? Like, look, you already got Maryland and Rutgers there. That's already weird to me. But again, I'm not going to go into a tangent because we don't have time. But I'm just like, now we're going to super conferences and conference realignment. My head hurts to go because I'm going to mute myself right before I swear.
I'm with you on this. It's all about money at the end of the day. As far as college football is concerned, I said this before in our last episode. If you're Oklahoma and Texas, are you going to out-recruit Alabama? The answer right now is no. As far as college basketball, it's going to be even a bigger mess. You know, who's going to be the natural rivalries now?
Mm-hmm.
Can someone help me out with that? We had this talk about this a decade ago when all these teams switched conferences and it affected college basketball more than it did college football. It's all about college football at the end of the day, but college basketball rakes in the money too. So that has to be considered. I'm sure it was, but college football, this was all about the money.
It's all, yeah, I mean, it's all about it's all about the dollar at the end of the day. It's not about competition. It's not about, good, good college experience. Get the heck out of here. Texas, LSU. I mean, yeah, that might be a nice little, rivalry, or maybe Texas, or Oklahoma and Alabama. Okay. They played like, during the, during the regular season, years ago. But again, I mean, this is sort of like, okay, do you go? I'm sure the Pac-12 is going to be sniffing around against some of those other teams. If you're the Big 12, do you try to get a BYU to come to your conference? So that way they won't be independent. It's just going to be a whole lot of upheaval, and I'm not here. I'm not ready for it. I'll say that. I'll say that. I'm going to say I'm not here for it, but I'm just like, I'm going to roll my eyes. All this stuff, I'm sorry, but like you said, this is going to affect college hoops and nothing else.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and what penalties both those schools will have to pay to leave if they want to leave sooner, before 2025. That's going to be the issue right there.
Yeah, is ESPN, they're going to have that big TV contract with the SEC starting next year. Are they going to be willing to pay for that? Pay that $80 million that they're going to have to pay to get Texas and Oklahoma in the conference sooner? Do you really want to do that for ESPN, especially since you've had to ask folks to take pay cuts, you've asked people to let go? I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like I say, it's going to be interesting over these next few months and perhaps the next couple of years. So this is far from over. When there is smoke, there's fire. So there's definitely fire at this point. How it's going to get put out?
Ooh, boy. Trey's already leaving the station for conference realignment, so yay! That should be. And also, too, some breaking news. Antonio Gates Jr. That's the son. He's son of former Chargers legend Antonio Gates. He's committed to play at Michigan State with Mel Tucker. So Mel Tucker gets his first, one of his first big recruits. And you were feeling old. Thanks.
Yeah, and watch y'all have a big game against Illinois.
You got a couple of years. You got a couple of years before you got to worry about that, Sid.
Oh, okay.
He's only a
There'll be somebody else until then.
yeah, that's true. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see what Brett Bielema does. And give him a couple of years. Maybe.
Yeah, he did take me out to the ball game at the Cubs game last Sunday.
I did. I did. I saw that. Yeah. Not the best.
Yeah,
singer,
he better. Yeah, like I say, he better take in these good vibes now because it could be a long road for him.
Yeah, we'll see.
I wish him the best. Him the best, but it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, gonna be very. Yeah, it is gonna be very tough, especially. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's definitely kept his eye on recruiting, so we'll see what he does over at Illinois. But yeah, so we're almost at August, Sid. I mean, we're gonna be talking more football. We've got some baseball, of course. The Olympics are finishing up, so definitely a lot of sports coming up this week. So just look at your local listings, to see what kind of sports you like to watch, and also definitely a lot of places you can find them. So don't.
Yep, the trade deadline. Yep, the trade deadline should be interesting, Lakeena. We'll be back to perhaps report on a couple of deals and maybe dish out some rumors on a couple of deals that might be on the horizon. So this next episode should and will be fun.
Yeah, also, too, we'll see if any interesting things happen in the first few days of training camp. They rarely do, but then again, you never know. So we'll keep you abreast of that.
Yeah, this is the NFL, folks.
Take us out, Sid.
Yep. You can find yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan_McGee on the IG.
You can follow this podcast, Second City Sports, on YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. Videos drop every Monday and Friday. Once again, videos drop every Monday and Friday right here on YouTube at War Media. You can download the audio version of this podcast at War on Anchor. Once again, at WARR on Anchor. You type that in your search engine box. where all podcasts are available. You can go to our website, weareregalradio.com, for more details. And you can follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WAR Media. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you very much for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Yes. And for Lakeena, I'm saying this has been Second City Sports.
And, stay safe out there. Stay cool, guys, because it's going to be very hot all these next few days here in Chicago and in a lot of places all over the country. And also be safe. Keep your hands washed. Wear your mask. And just be good to each other. Until
Hey,
later
that's
this
my
week.
line. That's my line.
Until later this week. For Sid and Lakeena, this has been Second City Sports Zoom style. And we'll see you this weekend.
Till next time, holla.